Okay, guys, thanks for checking out this video. We are continuing this funnel series. Actually, so Alec, thanks for joining in. Take some time.
Yeah, it's good to see you, man, and excited to be here, and excited to be chatting again.
So Alec and I met, a while back, and we connected at the iMinistry conference. We had a long conversation in a lobby at a hotel late at night, and about church and ministry and life. And you came from a church. At the time, you were at a different church. Now you're at E91 Christian Church, still close in the same area. And so, we're changing up the way we're recording this because we actually already recorded this. And like anybody that does any type of church or ministry online, there was a technical issue.
Oh yeah.
So apparently Zoom doesn't like it so Zoom's like recognize the speaker talking. If one mic isn't a certain decimal level, it doesn't change the speaker, so that we had a 30-minute, 40-minute conversation where it was just me and not you. We could hear you, but it would have been the weirdest. I was thinking maybe if I edit you, like a photo of you when you talk.
Yeah. Like phoning it in, sort of like on the news.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I remember they said that with, this is not a political comment, but I remember people would make comments about Donald Trump about don't let him phone in because it changes the dynamic of the interview, because it's like, it's easier to move on, and how like reporters have that rule. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I guess I would feel more convicted if I was in the room with you. But anyways, we're here. We're talking about church online. You did online ministry at your church before, and now you are leading not online, but you're doing communications, a lot bigger role. And so the conversation I want to have with you is more about, as somebody who has experience with church online, coming into this role and kind of like starting from the ground up, you're going to have a very unique perspective on how to kind of almost relaunch.
Yeah.
And so right off the bat, how old is E91 Christian Church, and then how long have you been doing church online, and how big is your church?
Yeah. So E91 is in the Indianapolis area. We've been around for a long time. I believe it was 1924 when we launched. So around 90 something years.
Was it like in response to the Titanic going down or something? Was that like?
I guess, I don't know. I mean, they were really feeling it then. I don't know.
I actually think the Titanic went down like 8 years previous. Anyways, besides the point.
I mean, yeah, it was just a long response. But anyway, yeah. So we celebrated something around 90 something. I'm not awesome at math, but just celebrated that. So we've been a staple in Indianapolis for quite a while, and doing church here for quite some time. So that's been a cool part, and people know that about E91 and where we're at. So as far as me, I've been here since November 1st, so right in the middle of the Christmas season. So I actually pitched the Christmas branding series during my interview, and so they liked it and brought me on and said, next week, let's start the Christmas stuff.
That's like joining the IRS during like tax season. Like,
yeah. Yeah. So I was able to jump in there, and been rolling ever since. We're running about 1,500 people right now. So we're in a unique spot because we are a decently large church that also is very multi-generational. So we used to be a church that was heavy into the traditional side of things. And about 5-6 years ago, we shifted focus from focusing only on traditional worship options, and moving and continuing to adapt into more of a contemporary worship style. So we still have some elements of that traditional worship style in some events that we have, and there's a worship service that's specific to that as well as just a core group of great people that have spent a lot of their life pouring into E91 and making it a core of who they are. So it's that fine balance of where my role is of honoring the multi-generational strength and stability that is there, and continuing to not necessarily target that audience, because our team, our elder team and church as a whole has said we really want to run after 33 with young families as our main demo. But what we really want to do in this multi-generational spot is to partner with them and let them know that we need them to continue to not give financially, which a lot of places, that's what they focus on is, you're not able to be on the front line. So we just want that. And that's not where we're at, but creating opportunities for them to shepherd and mentor this next generation of 30 to 35 to 40-year-olds, and letting them know that we want their voice to be heard in a mentoring capacity. And so it's a unique spot there as we do some marketing and branding and online stuff, because you still do want to enable that other market as well. So it's a unique role in that way that we do that. But again, we have a great group of people that are all for understanding that they're not the target demo, but how can they help reach who we need to reach.
Well,
is great.
So with, obviously right now you're not doing any type of church online in the sense of like streaming services and that at the moment. As you look forward towards this, is that something that you're going to like hire somebody and it's going to be part of their job? Are you going to do it part of your job? What does the vision look like as you roll this out, having some experience in that area?
Yeah. So I mean, as a core, I would say it's not the traditional online streaming church isn't necessarily on our radar as of right now, but from looking at it and from being involved in it before, what we really want to try to do is build the core of sharing stories online and building community online first, even before we engage in a streaming experience or engage in a live performance experience. The thing I think that we forget about live events is that if there wasn't a following or an audience to captivate or be involved in that live event, most often in other arenas that live event doesn't happen. But the start for major sporting events or other events like that, concerts, things like that, those all took place originally at a physical location where they started to build up an audience or fan base in the sports sense to where they're going to come out and be involved. And then once that hit, they realized, hey, the fan base is so large, we can't fit them in this place anymore. So let's engage at that point, over the air TV, and then eventually online to engage that fan base. But if, the Colts just rode into town, never played a game in their life, and then started broadcasting them live, you're not going to get an audience there. And I think that that's sometimes what we forget, because the church is just so anxious to want to jump on the live or
never. No, that's not.
But they forget that you have to build an engaging community first to give me the want to jump on live. Because I mean, the way our consumer world is going, at least from a technology standpoint, as far as viewing content that we do, it's probably, my content is at least 70 to 80% on demand, and 20% live at most. And you really got to sell me on live as to why I want to be there, whether it's a unique experience that I can't see on demand, or something that I don't want to miss out on because it's a big cultural event, or something, or it's a big following that I have, like sports, that you want to make sure that you're up on what's happening. You want to know what happens when it happens. But I think we assume that just everybody will want to watch our live service or engage, even if they don't know who we are or know what we're about or know any of that. But people don't watch. They don't give up their time, their valuable time, to do that unless they feel some connection or call there.
So what I love about this is that we've had a lot of conversations about this just offline, and I talk about this in my course about merging church online and the local, how it really should be just online should be everything you're doing. There should be next steps. Every event you're doing could and should probably have some kind of online expression, because it's just part of our daily church attenders' life. They're on their phone. Obviously, the next two questions that I typically ask don't apply because you're not doing it right at this moment. And obviously, you're going to be super local focused in building those connections. You don't have a platform at the moment, and you're not doing live streaming. But talk just a little bit about that whole idea that it's less about having, like, you're not really necessarily just saying, I want to like pop up a church online page and start streaming tomorrow. It's more about like integrating the online outreach into the whole church's strategy.
Yeah. I love, when I think of online church, I think I put it in sort of two buckets. There's a lot of churches doing live streaming, or live streaming their event, which isn't, it's just one live feed or a different angle, I guess, angle of what your event would look like. It just so happens that that angle comes from a computer and not from another seat in the auditorium.
Yeah.
So that to me falls a lot more on the production end of things, and a lot less on the church strategy side of things. To where for me, when I think of online church, I think of what is your church's representation online in a digital format.
Yeah.
And streaming and a live event, if you guys showcase your weekend services at a high level, that's a piece of what you do online or what you do in church. But we've talked about this before, even that, when you have your church at a physical location, it's not just open on Sunday, and it's not just the worship service and you leave, but there's community that happens before and after the service. There's life groups that take place. There's generosity and giving. There's serving opportunities. There's next steps as far as courses or classes you may want to take. And all of those things really outweigh, not necessarily outweigh, but percentage-wise can outweigh the weekend service, where online for so many churches has become 90% weekend experience and a very lackluster experience on the rest of the way, which is why I think that we've seen not a peak, but a little bit of a plateau of churches that aren't doing all church, all elements of church, but just streaming. They're seeing some of those numbers go down because they do want to engage in community, and they do want all the elements of church, just like we would at a physical location. So it's one of two strategies for us. Right now, we're not, like we've said, right now we're not producing any live streaming weekend experience. But what we are trying to produce is opportunities and resources for people online to see what we're about. So we do a lot with our blog. We're ramping up email marketing in a heavy way. I've just brought a good friend of mine on board on our team that will be able to really showcase that at a high level. And the big core for him of what it's about for him is, how do we get resources in front of people that they're already naturally looking for them, or naturally a part of their life, and how do we meet them in that place?
So with your church, what is your guys' like funnel? Like, is it service? Do you have some kind of membership deal, and then groups? Like, what is that like? What's the real quick
Yeah.
elevator? What does that look like in you guys'
Yeah.
company?
So our mission statement is helping people take next steps with Jesus. So our discipleship path is tied to that next step verbiage. So we're actually relaunching it, but we call it Next Steps at E91. And the first, we'll offer one class each week at our physical location, and that being baptism at E91, where it talks a little bit about taking that step of faith, and what it means to be baptized. Discover at E91, which is a little bit more about church history and what our strategy is and who we are and what we offer for different things. And then we have Life at E91, which is it really mimics a life group setting. So we talk more about how we want to live in community and embrace community together. And then our last course is Serve at E91. So at that point, we ask people to have a heart of servanthood, whether it be in the building or out in our community, because we are also a unique spot in Indianapolis, different than my previous church that I was involved in, to where we still, the public transit from downtown Indianapolis drives up into our campus. So we're in the unique spot where we have an Indianapolis address, but we're still on the edge of the suburbs. So we pull some of, but also have a lot of walk-in and a lot of different financial situations, whether it be a lower income as well as more upper classy and middle class even. So with that, there's a lot of great serving opportunities to meet people's needs and just be there for them. So that's sort of the path that we're looking at. Once we know, we're in the process of being really close to nailing those down physically, those courses. And then after that, we're looking into how do we train volunteers more streamlined via the internet, as well as how do we maybe record those courses and get them out on, like we've been talking about, a TV app or something like that.
Woo woo, little promotion there.
Maybe. TV at church.
Yeah, and go to indiecoffeeroasters.com.
So,
Which is,
yeah.
No, I love what I love about this. I know, like, for our current series, we've been talking about church online and the fun. Yeah. What I love about this is that you're integrating the church online DNA into your church's philosophy. It's not just a separate team or a separate person, and that is a big struggle. I mean, we were talking before about, even before we record, like, I'm constantly trying to wrestle with how do I partner with other teams, because especially a church my size, that we can be segmented out, and it's like, well, I can't just really go and create a video. I can't really just go design a website. I have to go through teams. But what you're doing is that you're saying, hey, a physical expression and online expression are just as important, because that's the people we're targeting. They live their lives partly digital, and they want a digital expression. So let's prioritize that in everything, not just have a thing for people who are far away. And and plus, on top of that, your guys' local vision is so strong in being in the community. And just as you're saying, you guys are close to public, like, you guys, that's what you're thinking. I honestly, like, I love the way you are shaping this and your church is thinking about it. I mean, I think it's the right way. I mean, I want to hit the reboot button a little bit in my context, but which is interesting because your church is old. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? So you think it would be easier at a church like 5-10 years, but your church is 90, you know, like, like, and so that means you guys have some really strong leaders, and it's cool.
Yeah. And I think a big issue that we have with, and I talked about this with the guys for at that church, which, again, I hate plugging everybody, but awesome resource. Go to their website and
that's cc.com. Those guys are great. That church community. So actually, be on the lookout. I think we're building them a TV app. So
do it.
Yeah.
But I had the shot to talk with them and talk at their conference and stuff, talking about how for the vast majority of really everybody, I think we forget to ask like how we are personally consuming things.
Yeah.
Even, and I challenge this a lot with my staff, or with our staff, not mine, but our church staff as a whole, when I have the opportunity to encourage them digitally, saying, take a step back and think about how you consume email or how you consume social media, not how you want to send it or not how you want it to be read or any of that, but just take some time and think about what you're thinking about when you're scrolling through, what makes you stop, what makes you engage. And the vast majority of people, at least in their brain, the trends are all pretty similar for most people, which is why the ad platforms and analytics are able to work so well, is because they've studied the habits and they figured it out. And if we can do that and realize that, people, when they see online and they see physical, it's just church. It's not, there is online church, there isn't physical church. It's just, I go to church and I go to E91 and that's where I go. And sometimes I watch online, sometimes I'm at the building, sometimes I have life group here, but I also do training online, or I use Right Now Media or other platforms. But for all of them, it's blurred. Everything is blurred. Just like, they may have a meeting with their boss over the phone, but then also they may come in physically, or they may have a Skype call or whatever. Their life is blurred. So why in church do we feel it's so necessary to put some harsh lines on what it's like? Where I really just try to think of, if you want to launch, something online, one, you should already be there in some level. But if you want to ramp things up, then just think of it as, how do I extend the experience that I'm having in our church and communicate that to those that are trying to find us online? It's just about connecting those people that are looking for something to the resources that you have, and making those resources easily available to those people that are looking.
I love it. And I know actually at that church conference, their San Diego deal, I was talking about that with them about the digital fusion mashups of, companies, like Walmart and Home Depot and Lowe's, whoever now, like whatever it is now, they have a local expression and a digital. And at first they just launched the digital, but now there's this fusion strategy where, you can do same day pickup and stuff. And, it's kind of like the joke of like Amazon is the number 9 retail place. It's number 9. It's not number 1. But the ones that are at top are the ones that have physical stores, but also have an online, and they figured out how to merge those strategies. So
you guys talked about that. Even I think about that even with the hardware that Amazon's creating, as well as like you guys talked about that before, but the Dash grocery stores, like
the grocery stores,
they're talking about, which is, some people look at it as much more of like a step back, but I look at it as like that fusion idea that I mean, it's like 80% or 90% of sales or retail sales still happens at a physical spot, not online, which, people still want to engage in community. It's just their lines between what community is just blurred. If you ask a 15-year-old, their best friends are online and their best friends are at school and their best friends are everywhere, and that's what it will continue to be. There'll just be a continued gray area of what it looks like, and the church just has to embrace that gray area and be in that spot.
Well, and I will say, if you wanted to check out either of our talks, I think if you're a pro member, you get access to those at that CC. So recommend those. Okay, so the 60-second question. What is your top online tool that you wish you had when you started church online?
When we started, I I'm trying to remember if I want to use the same one I said when we fake recorded.
Fake record, like fake news.
Yeah.
Alternative. Yeah.
So no, I think having Facebook Live at a wide open API like it is, it's not super wide, but still is getting better. Having Facebook Live at that spot would have been insanely great, because like we're doing a big event this weekend, and I'll give our, we're going to do a pregame show. And at that pregame show, it'll be all Facebook Live with an iPhone and a Lightning camera. And we're able to be up on live at a special event like that in, a minute with all I had to do was use a device I already have, and purchase a $40, $50 mic that'll help pick things up, which is overkill even at some points, not even necessarily super necessary, but so if having the ability, like when I launched originally a couple years ago at my previous church, if we had the ability to simply have, to pipe our all of our cameras into a switcher and put it up via a decent computer and stream to Facebook Live,
it would have been killer.
The audience is there. That's the best part. The audience is there. The player is better than anything else. The chat window is already integrated and better than anything else. And the shareability is insane. The instant share of invitations is crazy.
We did a Facebook Live test, I think, with Social Media Church, and it was funny because I think we get about 800 downloads an episode on our podcast right now, and every week, and we had about close to 400 views of the video just on Facebook, and it was just kind of funny, and we did it at like 9:00 at night, Pacific time. So I remember thinking, I wonder if we're messing with it. So, well, dude, thanks so much for taking the time. What we want to say is check out E91 Christian Church. Also go to indiecoffeeroasters.com. Some amazing coffee. I buy coffee from this man. So thanks, man.